What's up, y'all? Today, we're talking about procrastination on the OC Podcast, the world's largest Bible-based music business podcast. So this podcast is all about studying ancient wisdom and knowledge and learning how to apply it to your own life in the modern day. Before we get started, make sure to like this video if you're feeling the threads. Subscribe to this channel if you want to see all our future episodes of the podcast. Proverbs, don't put it off. Do it now. Don't rest until you do. I'm going to go ahead and not read that with the Arnold Schwarzenegger accent. You're welcome. Ecclesiastes says, when clouds are heavy, the rains come down. Whether a tree falls north or south, it stays where it falls. Farmers who wait for perfect weather never plant. I'm really digging the poetic language in this one. So first it's talking about the permanence of clouds causing rain, trees falling. It's going to stay there. It's inevitable. But in contrast with this type of inevitability, you have the farmer who says, oh, I'm just going to wait until everything's perfect, till it's the exact perfect time, then I'll make a move. And of course, these farmers are definitely going to reap what they sow. The soul of the sluggard, I like that word, I'm going to start using that. The soul of the sluggard craves and gets nothing. Pretty self-explanatory. I like how they talk about the aspect of craving, and I think it speaks to a level of entitlement that the sluggard has. He thinks he should just deserve everything for free without having to put in any hard work at all. Lazy hands make for poverty, but diligent hands bring wealth. Every kid should be taught this. I mean, if no other verse in the Bible, just this little piece here. Finally, we got Luke over here. When the banquet was ready, he sent his servant to tell the guests, come, the banquet is ready. But they all began making excuses. One says, I've just bought a field and must inspect it. Please excuse me. So I like this one too. This brings in the aspect of making excuses. So tricking your brain into making yourself believe that you're doing something more productive when you know what you should be doing. You're just not doing it. I really do not want to come across as like preachy or whatever. Okay, I'm just as guilty of procrastination as probably all of y'all watching this video. I'm a full-time musician, right? But I would never, ever be able to do what I do today and actually get paid a fair wage for it if I had procrastinated just a couple of percentages more than I did. So take this stuff with a little bit of a grain of salt because, I mean, you can get by and you can totally make it work just putting in the bare minimum amount of effort. But do you want to just get by? Or do you really want to build something larger than yourself and achieve greatness? By the way, leave a comment down below. Tell me what you think. Do you personally have a problem with procrastination? Have you seen any negative side effects of it? Has it manifested severe consequences in your life? We're going to get into the big boy music industry here, talking about all kinds of big, huge pop stars and how procrastination has actually caused them to lose millions and millions of dollars. So we got Rihanna here. She's addressing the R9 delay. And R9 is, of course, the name of her new album. So Rihanna says, I like to antagonize my fans a little bit. Well, they antagonize me too, so they get it right back. All right, Rihanna, how about this? How about instead of antagonizing your fans, you just release your record when you told everybody you were going to release it? I mean, maybe if Rihanna spent less time twerking and more time reading her Bible, she would have learned a little something about procrastination. And of course, she goes on Twitter, clapping back at fans who keep asking about R9 on Instagram. She says, oh, I've never seen this one before, like all sarcastic. If you're a Rihanna fan and you have nothing better to do than just sit around counting down the hours, minutes, seconds until the next Rihanna album release, and then it's not there, and so you go to track her down on Twitter and like try to publicly shame her about, oh, you didn't put it out on time. I mean, come on, guys. You really have to do that? Like, I get it. Like, yeah, she procrastinated. There's consequences for that, but I don't know if all that's necessary. However, this is not the first time Rihanna has delayed her album. The same exact thing happened with her previous album. I mean, 5 years? Does it really take 5 years to make a Rihanna record? You could probably literally just sample Rihanna's voice from all the interviews that she's been doing, making excuses about delaying her album, and make an entire record out of that and put it out right away. Any of you demented producers out there, if you guys want to take on this challenge, I will totally shout you out on this channel. And there she is. At the start of 2015, it felt like Rihanna was on the precipice of something. She joined Kanye West and Paul McCartney on the 4-5 seconds, which displayed a depth to her vocals usually hidden under layers of beats and synthesizers and auto-tune and sampling and pitch shifting and chorus effects. So we got rumors of her creating a makeup line, and she's spending a lot of time on Instagram, and the music, however, seems to have taken a back seat. How crazy of her to focus on things that will probably make her a ton of money instead of spending all her time creating an album of music that people are probably going to find a way to download for free. But she says here, to me, it's never done until it's done, until the final moment. Kind of reminds me of that crazy farmer waiting for the perfect weather to plant his seeds, right? Now here's the thing, album delays are nothing new. Beyonce took 2.5 years off. She had a child. How dare her? Justin Timberlake took 7 years to perfect the 2020 experience. However, during this time, he was putting out some really good singles like Suit and Tie and Mirrors, and Rihanna has not had any runaway singles. Now, this one's kind of a big deal for anybody who has a net worth under $100 million. While Rihanna's fan base is rock solid, her income is slipping at least a little bit. In 2013, her earnings dropped by a mere $11 million. Just a little bit, little teeny tiny drop, just $11 million. So she's obviously not broke, but it's clear that she's leaving income on the table. At this point, Rihanna is bigger than any music she creates. So any recording she does is simply because she wants to, not because she needs to. So this is kind of what I was saying earlier. You can let it slide a little bit and still make out pretty decently. But I'd imagine that most of you guys watching this video are not making anywhere near as much money as Rihanna. You don't have the brand recognition. You don't have the marketing abilities. You don't have that fame and success to fall back onto. So while Rihanna can wait 5, 6, 7, probably 10 years to put out her next project, none of us have that luxury. So for all us normal little people out there, the bottom line is this. If you want to achieve a real level of success as a recording artist or a musician, you can't afford to procrastinate. You can't afford to take 5 years to make an album. You just can't. So the author ends with this. Regardless of how Rihanna rolls out her next project, it will be an event because at this point she has no choice. So here's what this last little bit means to me. I think Rihanna probably spent the first 95% of her career not procrastinating. And none of us are ever going to know anything about that part of her life because she wasn't famous. Nobody cared who Rihanna was. So while she may lose $11 million, and while a couple angry fans might tweet at her, it's really not that big of a loss. Like they said, she doesn't have to do music anymore. Finally, I have a story about an album that everybody should know. I'm talking about Michael Jackson's Thriller, which was mixed by Quincy Jones. So Quincy says he did 91 mixes of Billie Jean. And finally he says, let's go back and listen to mix number 2. And mix number 2 blew everybody away. So he says he overmixed the song right into the pooper. So the mix that went onto the record was mix number 2. There's also a little story here about how Quincy was using little teeny tiny Aurotone Cube speakers. and he calls them the truth speakers, because apparently he was mixing on a bunch of other expensive equipment that were supposed to be the top of the line, and it wasn't yielding the results that he wanted. So he actually had to go back and check everything on these little teeny tiny speakers. So there's a little bit of nuance in this story. Yeah, don't do 91 mixes, but make sure that whatever you're putting out is, of course, a quality product. But we all know when you get to that point, you start crossing that threshold where it's like, this is a little bit excessive now. So that's all I got for you guys today on the OC Podcast, the world's #1 largest Bible-based music business podcast. Let me know what y'all think in the comment section down below. Are you a procrastinator? Have you totally screwed up your career because you're spending too much time on Twitter and Facebook and Instagram and not enough time actually creating quality products for your audience to consume? Have you defeated and overcome your procrastination? How have you done it? Leave us some tips and tricks in the comment section. Make sure to hit the like button if you like, and subscribe to this channel. Share this video, of course, with every single Rihanna fan that's upset about this album delay, and so we can remind them that, Rihanna doesn't really have to put the record out, and maybe she'll never finish it anyway. And I mean, I've seen guys in this area who create music and mix and mix and mix and mix and mix, and they mix all the life out of the freaking song. Or even worse is when you go into the studio, you track a song, you arrange the song, you mix the song, you go back, you do overdubs, you spend hours and hours and hours and hours, and then all of a sudden, before you know it, it's 5 years later and nobody even remembers recording the song in the first place. So this all comes down to procrastination. Now, how do you overcome procrastination? I think that first Bible verse says it the best. Do it now. And just don't give yourself time to think about the perfect scenario, the perfect circumstance. I mean, all the time you waste just telling yourself why I shouldn't do it now and why it should be pushed till later. All of that time is wasted. You could have had a product in your hand. You could have had a couple of dollars in your bank account. And like I said, I'm not a perfect guy, and I'm still struggling with trying to overcome my own sense of procrastination. So that's why I'm trying to make this video, to keep the conversation going and see what all you guys think out there. And maybe we can all help each other be more successful. That's how you get the money.